1 week ago, police moved in on the Occupy Melbourne protesters and forcibly removed them from the city square. Today, Occupy Melbourne gathered at the State Library with a plan to march to the Treasury Gardens. Their intention was to arrive and decide whether or not to set up a new occupation.
This is what democracy looks like!
In going to the gardens, one of the aims of the Occupy Melbourne movement was to conduct an open forum on a wide range of issues.
I think it's important that we talk about it. At the moment, I'm more interested in the discussion than an outcome, and I think that's most of the people here. There are families and people of all ages and backgrounds, and that's the beauty of it. It's not a left-wing lobby, it's everybody, let's talk about it. It's important.
I've been a businessman, and occasionally at one point or another we're all encouraged pressured to make money at someone else's expense. And it doesn't have to be that way, The brainstorming going on here is fantastic. That's what I'm here for.
But I'm interested in Occupy Melbourne because I believe that the way democracy works at the moment is not representative or fair, and that far too much of the government's sort of decision-making power is aimed at protecting profit and capital.
A major concern of protesters was the ongoing restrictions imposed on their demonstrations.
And we'd had dialogue with the City of Melbourne events team before Robert Doyle made any of his comments. So,
he never actually came down and had a look at the site, not once.
Yeah, they issued us with a notice just restating the legal situation with tents and structures, marquees and stuff. But they also included some, recommendations or suggestions that we don't bring objects and we don't sit under trees.
It actually says do not bring objects, sit under trees.
Well, Robert Doyle made his intention clear that they wanted to move us along in a few days' time.
Yeah,
they said we'd made our point, so in the City of Melbourne's eyes, they thought that they decided legal restrictions on camping and that sort of thing. But it's important to remember that protests and demonstrations and free speech, there's no time limit on it.
Yeah,
if people want to do it for weeks or months or years, then you can't just say, oh, time up, you guys have had your say, now it's time to move on. That's not real democracy, that's not free speech.
The Occupy Melbourne movement raises a number of issues. One of the most important appears to be the limits to freedom of speech and assembly in this country. Protesters in London, Madrid and New York have not been evicted. Why is it that the protesters in Melbourne do not have the right to an ongoing protest? And what are the limits to democracy in Australia?